Morning everyone, welcome back. In today's video I'll discuss surprise kit leaks for next season. Learn the latest news surrounding some surprise transfer targets for this summer, as well as the fact that Roman Abramovich is backing Thomas Tuchel over Lukaku. So I hope you guys definitely enjoy. Quick plug, make sure you check out my massive pre-match breakdown surrounding our game later today against Al Hilal. I go into depth, I go into detail, you guys learn everything about our opponents in today's game. Hope you guys enjoy, smash the like button, and without wasting any more time, let's discuss the news surrounding Roman Abramovich, Lukaku and Thomas Tuchel, as an article was released late last night by Mr. Matt Law from The Telegraph. He confirms that Abramovich is supporting Tuchel a lot this season. To be honest, to keep things real, I didn't necessarily get specifics or specific context behind, these claims of Roman supporting Thomas Tuchel. There was nothing really detailed about exactly what was happening. Was the article alluding to the fact that maybe Lukaku has been more of a negative presence behind the scenes? If so, nothing was really written about or confirmed. But anyway, let's continue on. And he reports that Roman, of course, is expecting a lot more from Lukaku. It wouldn't surprise me. Many big signings we've made under his tenure. I'd imagine he's kept the same energy for all these guys to keep things real. But of course, Lukaku has an amazing opportunity to help the club lift some silverware in the Club World Cup. And there are some interesting parallels from 10 years prior when Fernando Torres, at the time, a big record signing. He fumbled the bag in the final, missed two amazing opportunities to get us back into the game and to give us a chance of winning. And you'd like to hope and think that Lukaku, with the difficulties that he's created for himself after the interview, he'd be able to, rectify these issues and help us win some silverware in the Club World Cup. Roman is desperate to win the Club World Cup, and he wants to know that every single trophy has been won under his ownership. We keep getting more of Roman supporting Tuchel. Was this when Lukaku missed out on the game as punishment for that unwarranted interview in which he didn't tell anyone and, kept everyone in the dark? I'm not too sure. It doesn't really specify anything, to be honest. Of course, rightfully, there is expectations and pressure on Lukaku. When you're signed for that amount of money, you want to see a bit more. And I do believe that at this point in time, it's more of a 50-50 thing. On one half, Lukaku has to adapt more to a team and, maybe display more skill sets, of course. But at the same time, I also feel like the system at times doesn't necessarily help. But I do feel confident in the fact that I feel like there can definitely be a balance that is found and met not very far into the future. Let's see what happens. But part of me, and it's my personal opinion, I can't accept some of the hypocrisy. I mean, we've signed many big name players that haven't necessarily lived up to any of their potential. Even our second biggest transfer in our history, at times, sometimes doesn't even, make the first team because he's on the bench. So I like to think that the energy is kept consistent throughout. But regardless, as we all know, the only way to apologize for that interview is to perform and start scoring goals. And let's hope that he can start doing that in the Club World Cup. So right now, we move on to the next story and let's discuss kit leaks for the 22-23 season. Now, these leaks came courtesy of a Twitter account, Semir Joglu. I'm definitely getting that name wrong. But anyway, as he states here, he doesn't necessarily know if these are the final products. However, the new kit leaks have been released in the wild. And essentially, we have a real strong possibility of seeing what our kit could be looking like for next season. And we're seeing it right here, you guys. It's interesting. There's a collar, there's a button. It's very, very minimalist, extremely minimalist, and I'm going to give my personal thoughts and opinions behind this kit, you guys, but come on, it's so dead. It is so dead. It's so poor. I'm sorry. It feels like this kit was released like 15 years prior. I'm getting like 2006 vibes for some reason. I think the thing that I'm just not really agreeing with, what my being is not agreeing with, is this collar and the button. I'm not understanding it personally. I don't understand these crayon NFT lines on this on this collar. The button as well too. I don't see what detail that adds to the kit, and I don't like how that light blue is going off and contrasting against like the more royal blue as well too. And like to see like the little like sky blue outlines around the night tick. I'm not feeling it, you guys. I'm not feeling it. But as I'm stressing, this is my personal personal opinion. You know what's interesting though? One of my friends who, you know, is like in the industry and stuff like that, he gave me some interesting insight behind this kit. And basically he's saying that for this season, yeah, one thing that Nike is mandating in their kit designs is that they want to make it as hard as possible for counterfeits to be made from their kits. Hence why they want to see features added to the kit to make it hard to do so. And I'm assuming that maybe all these like random crayon lines are all going to be like unique to each and every single kit that is made. As I'm saying, I'm getting strong 2006, 2007 vibes. This ain't the one for me, bro. This really ain't the one for me. But as I'm saying, this is my personal opinion. I'm curious to see what everyone's saying in the comments about this new kit. Is this a must cop for you? Do you guys love this kit? Of course, you know, confidently share your thoughts and opinions below. But right now, let's start to talk about some transfer news for the summer. Now we start with a very interesting story, and it surrounds star dream striker Hugo Ekitike, who we all know turned down a late move to Newcastle. Now, to give you guys quick context behind that, Newcastle had agreed a 33 million fee with Star Dream to sign the player. However, after late interest from clubs like Dortmund, from clubs like Paris Saint-Germain too, that was enough to deter him completely from completing a move to Newcastle. As you know, when you find out how big your profile is and the possibilities you have for the future, me personally, I definitely think that he made the right move. However, this report comes from 90min Football, and they report that us, as well as a host of other Premier League clubs, are strongly scouting the player, with us even following the player recently in a game. Now, interestingly enough, Ekitike is the highest scoring teenager in Europe currently, with 9 goals in the league. You know, all 9 goals and 2 assists coming in Ligue 1. And it's funny because he started the season as Star Dream's 4th choice striker, and now he's worth over 30 mils. So I can definitely see why. And I think his game and profile is very unique. And personally, I think he is displaying, you know, hints of like, you know, top class potential in his game. Now he's a very tall striker at 6'3". And normally you're assuming that when you have that type of height, you are going to be like more of like a focal point, a reference point, a target man. However, he doesn't play the game like that. He's a very strong dribbler. Ideally, he prefers to lead the line up front, but drift to the left hand side where he's able to receive balls to feet, cut inside and run at opponents, which he does to a very high level. I think he displays a lot of another interesting skill points as well too. The fact that he takes his shots very early, with a lot of his goals being first time shots, that's a nice score you want to see. He has good movement of the ball as well too. He can hold the ball. He can be that focal point for the team as well. And I think technique-wise, I think it's quite exceptional, especially for his build and his profile. You know, France have a habit of producing very technically strong players, which I just love about that country. You know, I do get a bit of like Freddie Canute vibes. If you guys remember Canute, of course, from Sevilla, Tottenham, etc., etc. You know, that type of technique to his game. He's only 19 years old, and already he has every big club scouting him to see how he performs. I think he has the ball at his feet. I'd just keep performing if I was him. But I find it interesting that, you know, recently we signed Burstow from Charlton, another team that's already playing first team football for them, who kind of shows similar potential. We do have Armando Broja, who's performing very well since he's had life in the Premier League currently. But could this be suggesting that maybe we may look to do some business with Southampton by selling him, and of course having some, you know, very sexy clauses inserted in the deal that could benefit us in the future, because that's what we tend to do every single time. Otherwise, you know, I don't understand what message it sends out to the other young strikers in the team, especially for Armando Broja, but we will have to see what happens with this. However, this is an interesting story behind, you know, what the scouting department's doing and the type of profiles they're looking at. So right now, we look to the final stories today, and we have even more interesting transfer target news. Now, Nizar Kinzela from Goal.com did release his Chelsea newsletter in which he stated that Ronald Arujo and Cucurella from Brighton are 2 players who are officially on our transfer shortlist. I'm going to start with Arujo first. You know, these reports keep resurfacing and coming out all the time in Spain, so it's interesting to see that English publication is confirming the story. And we do know that currently he does have 18 months left on his existing deal. He wants to get a bigger contract at Barcelona, but they don't have the finances and resources to fully commit to that, and hence why he hasn't signed a new deal currently. He joins alongside other profiles such as Fofana, Koundé of course, and even Levi Cole is being looked at as an option for next season as well. We could possibly go for 2 centre-backs for the summer, depending on how many centre-backs leave us in the summer, of course. It's interesting because Barcelona are planning their own defensive reshuffle themselves, with Christensen and Koundé being their 2 main targets in the window. So how is this exactly going to play out? Let's see what happens. Even though Arujo is an imposing, strong and tall defender, good aerially, he does have good defensive reading. He's a guy that likes to stay in his position, and he's not really an aggressor. He'll look to hold his line instead. I think what really puzzles me behind this deal is the fact that he's not a defender that breaks the lines. He's not going to kickstart attacks. I definitely feel like that is the profile we need in our defense, especially under Thomas Tuchel. We've seen our build-up phase. Yeah, it's very important that we are able to play out from the back. And one of the reasons why Zuma left was because in this new system, that skill set of his didn't necessarily complement the way he wanted to play. So it makes no sense in our goals for another player that can't necessarily fulfill those same things, especially when we have a Levi Cole that can already do all of that on paper already. A part of me feels like this is yet again like another opportunistic, like financially savvy, motivated move, which we just have to stop doing. But in my opinion, I can't imagine that Arujo would be very high on the shortlist. So let's now move on to the final target, which is a nice and interesting one, and that is Marc Cucurella from Brighton. Now, there wasn't much news revealed in this one, other than the fact that he has emerged as a strong candidate for the summer. However, any move for him will depend on whether Marcos Alonso was sold in the summer. We know that Alonso is on a big contract. We've been trying to sell this guy for God knows how many years now. I don't know if it will ever happen. To be fair, at this point, he's probably going to retire with us. But, Cucurella is a good player. We have been linked with him before. He has been on our scouting shortlist a while. It's not the first time I've done videos on him over the past few seasons. Of course, I'm going to put my hands up. He definitely surprised me with how he's been able to, adjust to life in the Premier League. At the time, even though he had pace and good technique, I thought that maybe defensively he wasn't of that level. However, players do grow and improve as they get older, and he is a player that can play left wing back and left back as well. And I do think for next season we will definitely use 2 formations, a back 3, of course, and a back 4. I think that gives us the biggest tactical edge, and I think that's definitely something that we need a squad for. I find it interesting that if we were to make a move for him, considering that Brighton signed him for £18 million, he's probably going to cost double that money. And it's so funny that it just takes a player playing in the Premier League just for 1 season for his transfer value to just increase by tenfolds. It's so funny. He's had a very good season, of course, but I say he's been like one of the standout best left backs in the country. I wouldn't say so. However, he is like on the cusp of like getting into that group. I think he is a very good player, and I think he would be great competition for the squads. I guess this depends on how much Brighton would sell him for. I'd imagine it's going to cost a ton of money, and ideally, if we're going to go for anyone, I want that to be a Lamptey. I mean, the fact that we could look for a Cucurella to compete with Chilwell, well, it's not the same energy for the right-hand side as well, because James can't play an entire season by himself. But regardless, you guys, that is all the news that came out today. Later today, I will be releasing a watch-along for our game against Al Hilal, as well as a match review, so you guys stay tuned for that. And on that note, I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later. Cool.